Hello and welcome to another game analysis video. We've got here some humans versus some Chaos Dwarfs. It's two rookie teams, no skills on either side, although I did play one game and so there's a loner here with this one player. So before we get started, I'd just like to say, as always, if you like the video, please like or subscribe to the channel, and you can always check out my Patreon page below, which just lists all of the various written articles and videos and things that I've done all about Blood Bowl. So off we go. So my opponent won the toss and decided to kick, which is a good decision. So I've got this little setup here. So this is something that I'm much more happy to do with a rookie team when nobody has got any more skills than anyone else, or no one's more valuable particularly than any other player. So which is just to put all of these guys on a line like this, rather than hiding people in the back line. So there's one catcher hiding at the back because obviously there's some block and tackle guys around, so we don't want to be opening up a blitz on this guy. But the rest of the guys, they can all just hang around in the front, helping each other, making it harder for my opponent to get a 2-dice blitz without committing people out of position along here, or putting people in contact that I can block back next turn. The ogre's in the middle, so he can deploy where he is most needed on my next turn, and I've also put these two guys here as next turn to stop the Chaos Dwarfs from just wandering one Chaos Dwarf over, marking him, and then trading him out of the game for the whole drive, which is something that is quite common to do. Show an armor 9 person next to an ogre, and they're just probably going to stay next to each other for the whole game. The most likely thing that's going to happen is the ogre either boneheads or 1-9s, more likely than killing the dwarf and getting rid of him. So just these two there to protect that, so I can have my ogre ready for action on my next turn. So off we go with the kick. My opponent's got his ball centaurs back to try and get the ball, which is a really good decision early on. You just want to skill those guys up early. So it's not necessarily a tactical decision in terms of winning this one particular game, but in terms of getting them skilled up, it's a great idea. My opponent's doing a sensible job so far. So not rolling any dice, not even 2 left blocks of block, moving his players first. And the reason for that is that although these are very, very low risk dice rolls, they are not no risk dice rolls, so you might as well just do the no risk, 0 chance of failure things. And you can see this is a really good move. So what he's done here is he's taken that one block, but it was with a purpose. So it was to free up this one guy over here to try and get closer to the ball. And that's a really good decision because he's identified that the ball's on the halfway line, and there's a potential for me this turn with my fast moving human team to potentially get in amongst it and causing problems. So that's a very good move. Okay, so he's taking his 2 blocks. Fortunately that's a KO. That's fine. This makes a lot of sense. Saving the pick up to last, which is obviously the right thing to do. Unfortunately, another KO. So 2 players down already. Not great. And then the very last thing he wants to do, well, he's going to do the splits first, which is fine. But as you can see from what we discussed with the setup, the positioning here has induced these 2 players here to make the blitz. So this guy is making the assist, this hobgoblin is the assist, and this Chaos Dwarf is the one doing the blitz. And that's a slightly out of position thing. That's not something he'd want to do ideally. He's exposed this hobgoblin to a blitz next turn, and he's also crowded everybody around on this side of the pitch, which I can defend quite easily in my next turn. It's a very small thing, but every little helps. He's failed to pick up, and he's let it go, and I think that's fine. There was with a 4-up, the worst case scenario is he probably ends up here, but he's still got 3 tackle zones on it, so it's probably going to be okay. So on this turn, I decided to blitz here first because I want to see what the result is. So I don't want to move him or do anything with him first, because if this is a pushback, I can move one of these guys around to this square here, and then get a secondary 2-dice block with another blitzer. So that's why I haven't moved the rest of these guys, because I haven't yet to decide whether I want to move one of these two guys to this position or this position, and so I'm just holding back on that one off chance. 2 players down already at this point, so I'm not going to do anything. So that is a very, very small risk, but at this point you need to take very, very small risks to try and get back in the game. So lucky enough, I've injured a hobgoblin, and I like to think that was because of my defensive line setup, which caused the hobgoblin to be exposed. You never know. Okay, so what I'm doing in this turn is that everybody's over on this side of the pitch for the Chaos Dwarfs, because they had to be, because where the ball went, there's no fault for my opponent. And so I'm just defending this side of the pitch, but not committing too far over. I'm also leaving the ogre completely stationary. He's not going to... There's nowhere particularly better he could be. And risking the chance of rolling the bonehead. There's no huge advantage to it this turn. I mean, I'm going to move him plenty of other turns during the game, but this one turn, he's quite happy where he is, defending the centre of the pitch, and then we can not worry about boneheading this turn, especially a player down, and then see what happens next turn. So, before I go through this Chaos Dwarf turn, I'm just going to mention this defence here. So you can see it's quite exposed. There's a potential for the Dwarfs to just come through along this sideline. If they wanted to, they could get a 2-dice blitz here with the Bull Centaur, and then leave this line open to run down. But I'm actually not too worried about that happening. That's actually a reasonably good thing that could happen. It isolates a number of his slow players. In fact, all of his these 4 players here would all suddenly be out of the game should he run the ball carrier down here somewhere, and then I could hopefully get a number of my players back to cause a lot of pressure. And there's a fair chance that he'd still score, but he'd score in turn 2 or 3, 3 or 4, and that's fine. You know, you're looking for a 2-1 scoreline. That's not the end of the world. Leaving that open, it creates a little bit of risk for him, and the cost for me, should everything go perfectly, isn't too great. So I'm happy to leave that, as I said, particularly with being a player down. The other option would have been to move this catcher over here to completely wall it off, but like I said, I kind of want to tempt him into it a little bit, so I haven't done that.
That's a dangerous place to be.
Okay, well, this is sensible. He's taking the blitz on with the guy with block, and he's just trying to create some pressure here. So he's just going to jam these guys in and try and make it impossible for me, or difficult for me to block back against his beachhead. And I get everyone involved. But the good thing for me is that he's committed completely to this side of the pitch. And it's a lot easier just to defend one side of the pitch than it is to defend the whole width, and particularly this narrow. So this is, even though I've lost a player, this is a way that I can stay in this game quite easily. Okay. So, with everybody jammed in here, I'm going to have to use the ogre. So, at some point, so I'm thinking I'm going to blitz for the ogre. So I'm planning the whole turn around where that's going to go. But before I did any of that, I saw a little chain push that I could do, which was if I stand him up, and then I could have blocked him, and if that was a power, that pushes him out of contact as well, which leaves me 2 easy 2-dice blocks on him, and then suddenly I've got a very good defensive line going up. So you may think, why have I left this guy in contact? But it's going to allow me a lot better defence all round. There's not with this human team, there's no chance of me dodging every player every turn. Some people are going to get left in contact, and so you need to think about what the which players get left in contact to be hit, and what are the upsides of doing so. So in this case, I've stood him up in order to facilitate this 2-dice block. Unfortunately, double skulls into push doesn't quite work out, but it's still not a disaster. Okay, So after that, I'm moving the rest of my players. I've still got a 2 dice block here, which I can take. I've used a reroll, but I've got to do something. I can't just roll no dice at this point. So just making these 2 dice blocks of blitzers first, and then saving the ogre for the last action. So I didn't go down. I did move, but I didn't go down. Unfortunately, I did not move the guy over, so that's not the end of the world. I've got my ogre in contact with the ball. He's not particularly threatening though, because he can reasonably be blocked off. But it's still something to do. And it also helps protect this guy. I've stood up here a little bit. Not great, as we mentioned, but a tiny bit. Okay. And then finally move that thrower in there. Looked at the turn and decided that a lot of pressure had been created. A few more players were in contact than I wanted them to be. So at the original of the turn, the plan was to try and chain push people out, 2 dice block these guys away, and then possibly leave only these 2 guys in contact. As it turned out, that didn't quite work out. Rolled a few pushes, and so I decided that it's better to commit to the contact now rather than just standing off. Still got a few guys free next turn to move, depending on what my opponent does. Yeah, that's not great. So my opponent's opened up with a 1 dice block with a non-block player. Well, there are probably better options there. Unfortunately, he's got the power. Had it been a push, I would still have been in a reasonable enough position. The power just allows him to get a cascade of 2 dice blocks off here. And unfortunately, that's another KO. So back to 2 players down. But yeah, these things happen. As we can see, he doesn't really have. He's just maximising the blocks at this point, and that's fine. At this stage of the drive, particularly after that good turn he's just had. But as we can see, because of the slowness of these players who are still in contact, he didn't have the opportunity to move his ball carrier all the way down. And so that's left me still in the game. A number of players I can move on my turn. And we've still got plenty of options. So this ogre's just going to stand up. I'm not going to blitz with him. I've got other options to do that during the turn. So he's just going to stand up and get involved. So if you can do that, if you can have a plan with the ogre not blitzing, it's also a lot better, because if you can just roll a dice with no risk of standing up and use him as a roadblock, that's a much more beneficial use of his abilities at this stage of the game. So I'm quite happy just to get him involved. Strength 3 guys aren't very happy about a strength 5 ogre standing out to them, and so that's cool. Okay, so I need to just come over this side again and start defending this side. As you can see, everybody's bunched up here. And so I'm just defending this very narrow part of the pitch, essentially just one sideline, which is great. That works perfectly in my favour. That's what I'm trying to achieve, that's what I'm trying to do. But now he got that KO on that side, which means I need to move a few more players around. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to blitz this guy. Okay, and so the reason I did that first is because I wanted to see what happened, because there's the potential for this to work. So bringing 2 guys round, I can use him to block this guy with, if I get rid of him, 2 assists, and then get him out of contact, which is what I'm going to do. The other one having failed, and luckily enough I get the power on that one, and so we've got a nice little defence here without having to make a dodge roll with him, so that's cool. So that was a hobgoblin I blocked there with a 1 dice with a blitzer, which I was happy to do. It's only a 2+ for it to work, and I think that's a fairly good risk to reward ratio on that. As I said, I'm now 2 players down. I have to reroll in hand for this turn, so I do need to make some kind of positive behaviour, make some positive actions, and so that a 2+ to get rid of a hobgoblin is absolutely fine thing to do. Just moving that catcher back there to fill in the defence a little bit. And then I decided that I'm in a little bit of a tough position, and so taking these one dice blocks with non-bot players is something I'm going to take on. So not going to do that every turn of the game, but this turn with the reroll still to hand, I thought, okay, that's fine. And that gives me a little bit of more defence. Only one guy in contact, and the ogre who's doing a great job. So this trade up here, this ogre marking a bull centaur, I'm happy to take that. At this stage, the strength 4, movement 6, potentially movement 9 guy is going to be quite a thorn in my side. My one advantage here is the speed of my team. He's got much more block than me. So if it comes to a blocking war, block and armour, and it comes to a blocking war, he's going to win. But if I can just try and take one of those guys out, and the ball carrier is almost out himself just by virtue of having the ball, so he has to hide on a turn-by-turn basis. And so he can't use his strength offensively to bully my players and gain position. So if I can take both of these ball centaurs out of the game in terms of developing the drive, that's fine. It's not saying a perfect trade-off, but it's one that I'm happy to take at this stage. So my opponents decided to come round this way and centre it back into the middle of the pitch, which is very good idea. At this stage, he's got enough time still to score, and with a few players up, he should be able to make a breakaway. This is where the slow nature of the Chaos Dwarves blockers himself is going to be problematic, though. He's not going to be able to get everybody back round to defend. So that was a reasonable blitz from him. It opened up the 2 dice block on this guy as well, which causes more pressure, and that's fine. This stun was quite going to prove to be quite difficult. It's going to stop me getting this guy free. So he's essentially got 2 stuns for that one armor break. But yeah, that's fine. These things happen. Okay, so this turn I need to recenter, but he's obviously going to try and dive down this sideline over here in his next turn. So I want to get my players round to cover the potential of that on his next turn. Also, getting an offensive line, stopping and blocking my players, normal kind of stuff. So the obvious blitz here is to get an assist here, move a guy here to blitz him, and then that frees up the 2 dice block here on this guy, which is what I'm going to do. No blitz with the guy in a minute, but obviously you want to do non-dice roll actions first, and so that's why I've moved this guy over here. I could have moved him further, I believe. Not sure, but I think it's a little bit better to keep some kind of sort of coherent formation. Get these guys together a little bit better. And I've made this catch around. He's again, catcher's hiding, don't want to get hit by tackle, and he's causing a little bit of a nuisance there, stopping the complete breakaway coming back round the centre. So I don't want to completely give away the middle of the pitch. I'm not too worried about him breaking down this sideline next turn. I think that's not the end of the world for me. As I said, 2 players down, we have to make slightly more risky plays or try and create situations that are going to be to our advantage. And so if we do end up with the Chaos Force coming down at this side, that's going to leave a lot of his other players stranded over on this side of the pitch, separating his team. That's exactly what we're going to do with a fast team such as humans. Separate the other guys if they're a slow team, and then that allows you to suddenly create a man advantage by moving your 3 players over to the counter half of his team. Okay, so here comes the blitz. Which is good. This guy on the floor here, if it was 11 versus 11, I might potentially just put a guy there, as you'd expect, to stop him getting up in the next turn, threatening the turf, so preventing him from standing up until the last action, where he might want to do a 5-foot dodge or something. But with players down, I can't afford to do that. He's out of the game at movement floor for this turn anyway, so that's fine. Even with 11 versus 11, I may well just leave him. with me being so concerned about the break, well, not concerned, but being aware of the potential of the breakaway there down this side, the value of marking out that one movement 4 player who is right on the other side of the pitch isn't as high as potentially having, if even if it was a lineman, he could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is in range of here on my next turn. So even if I had a lineman alive who could potentially stand there, he may want to be back here anyway, just covering the breakaway. Okay, so taking this to those blocks, it's a push, but it's better than a 1 in 9. I could have left this ogre 1-on-1ing this bull centaur, but I was slightly concerned at this point about making it too easy for him to come down this way. I do want the bull centaur coming down here on his own with like a couple of hobgoblins for company. That's a good position for me to have my opponent in. Much worse if he can come down here, form some sort of cage with all of his chaos dwarves in tow. So I decided to take a small risk and try and block this bull centaur. Try and corner that off. So it's a push. I have to follow up. You can't just leave that guy on his own. But it's a slightly better position than it was previously. That ogre looks like a roadblock. You don't want to commit everything to knocking him down, potentially. And so hopefully he's still going to take the bait and go down this sideline. Okay, so this is where it's a slightly strange turn from my opponent. He's decided to blitz this ogre to free up this guy and to mark these guys, and that's pretty good. I mean, he's penning these guys in, swamping them with chaos dwarves, etc., and then making the breakaway here. That has left him slightly weak though on this side. I mean, it's humans. There's potential for a couple of dodge rolls to work quite easily, and it also leaves these guys completely out of the play. So I mean, if I have a really good turn in my next turn, and just get some pressure on round here, these guys are totally out of the game. This guy's probably out of the game as well, even if he's just marked. And so there's a potential for me to not. I don't need to do anything clever this turn. I just need to get some pressure on over here, and the fact that he's committed these guys on this side of the pitch means that in the following turn there could be some real advantage, and I could get the ball off him. So the idea here is to blitz this hobgoblin, and hopefully knock him over, and then follow up and put a tackle zone on the ball. Putting a tackle zone on an agility 2 player is great, even though he's got strength 4. If he's going to blitz me away, that means he's using his blitz action, which means he can't use it somewhere else for better position, which is great for me. So I'm going to do these things in the right order. So I'm going to move the assist first because that's for free. Then I'm going to stand this guy up because I've decided he's not going anywhere or doing anything, so I can do that later. But I'm not standing this guy up yet, and we'll see why later. So the first plan is I can one dice this guy. I've got block, he hasn't, so that's a 50% chance of me knocking him down, and a pushback is still a fine result should that transpire. So I will push him back and follow up, which will mark him out of the game. So any of my players marking this bull centaur, which is one of his primary good players, is fine. The reason I didn't stand this guy up is because if this is a pushback, which it is, I can then stand this guy up for an assist, block with this guy here to free up this guy to make the blitz through this way without making any dodge rolls. Had I got the both down or one dice pow here, I could have not followed up, and then he could have just run through, and then this guy might have wanted to do something else. No point him standing around the floor if he doesn't have to be, so I might have last action of the turn just tried to dodge him out. But so that's why I didn't stand him immediately, but I am now doing. So I've set this up so that even pushbacks work, which is fine. I got a push on the first one, which is bad, but I got a power on the second, which is fine, but push would have been okay. I failed to go for it, but got the reroll, so we'll give it another go. and luckily I get the knockdown. So that's okay. That's only one player left to act, and it's this guy here. He's not going to do anything, he's going to stay there. He is marking out the one Chaos Dwarf that is in range of the ball carrier, of helping out the ball carrier. So there's no better place that he could be. If he dodges out and comes over here, he's still got a chain push blitz to get rid of me and stuff like that. It's not really going to do any improvement. It's going to let this guy get in contact or get involved with the play. Here he's out of the play. That's great. Leave him there. Okay, my opponent's turn 6. Okay, so this isn't ideal. If he's going to make this blitz without block, he should be, with one reroll left, he should be doing it with the Hobgoblin. That way, if he fails, and I don't have block either, at least the ball carrier hasn't gone down. It's the same dice either way, but the failure result happens on the non-ball carrier rather than the ball carrier. Fairly basic thing. Given that he's going to start this Hobgoblin and do nothing with him anyway, that would have been the preferable action. It worked out fine though, so that's okay. If he was going to blitz the ball centaur, he should have done that before he stood the Hobgoblin up, so the Hobgoblin could then move on his later in the turn. Okay, so this is obviously a disaster from my opponent, putting the ball centaur on the sideline for absolutely no reason. He would have been better just about anywhere else. But that is what you can achieve by just trying to put some pressure on. So I've been 2 men down for basically every part of this drive. And I'm just trying to hang on and create a situation where my opponent makes a mistake. And that's all you can do really when you're a couple of players down and you're just trying to stay in the game. There was never any situation where I could do anything crazy or funky because humans aren't that kind of team. But just trying to keep in the game, put on slight pressure, minimise the amount of blocks my opponent can take, maximise the ones I can take whilst keeping a defence up, and then hopefully I'll get my opportunity, which I have done here. So we've got a chance to blitz the ball carrier this turn. I don't want to do anything crazy. I'm going to do free up one of these blitzers quite easily with a 2 dice block here, and then come in for a half dice. Now there's a potential for maybe dodging another guy out, to try and get it to be a 1 dice block, but that's actually probably more difficult than just doing a half dice block. A half dice block with block against a player without block, needing anything but a skull, is actually more likely to succeed than 3 up dice on its own. So the safest thing I can do here, the fewest dice I can roll for the best result, is just the half dice block. So yeah, it's 25 and 36 rather than 24 and 36, which is 2 and 3 obviously, or for a 3 up. So you may be asking why I'm not standing this guy up first. That's because it's the thrower, and so it's a potential that if the ball comes out somewhere, I may want to roll a few dice this turn, try and get a pick up or a pass to anywhere. So I haven't stood him up yet, simply for that reason, that I'm hoping that something works with this. If the ball was in the crowd, it could go anywhere, so having a couple of players around to react to it is obviously beneficial. If you're going to do a play like this, if I did it last action of the turn with no opportunity to react to it, then I'm just giving the initiative back to my opponent. This guy, he's staying there mainly for the reason he's already marking out the assist, although that doesn't particularly matter because it'll be half dice either way, but also because if the ball comes out this way, he's got a chance to run and get it, so there's no need for him to make an action at this point. Okay, so got a go for it and a half dice block, and I get it. And obviously with this being Blood Bowl 2, my opponent immediately concedes, but I thought that was fine. I thought that would make for a slightly shorter video. I don't want to just keep dragging these out to near an hour, just to get shorter bursts. So a little bit of analysis there for a fairly short game, but happy to do so. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you again next time.